Hey crew, how are we doing? And we've got a really exciting thing going on today. We're sitting here with Keith Bennett. So Keith's been using Skillest for a while now, probably over a year now, and he's just seen huge growth in his social media. He's seen huge growth in his users on Skillest, and we're actually going to go through one of his students and talk about the changes that he's made, and I think it's going to be super cool. So welcome, Keith. Good to have you, mate.
Hey, babe, what's going on? Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome to finally connect with you across the world. And yeah, just like I do with the rest of the students, it's been fun to be a part of the growing Skillest community and just to help golfers from all over the planet, really, which has been more than I'd ever expect to have happen within a year's time. But it's been a lot of fun, and I've met a lot of cool people, and just happy to be part of this growing storm that's taken over the golf teaching industry.
Yeah, well, hopefully, and yeah, it's really cool. We were just sort of sitting down there and going through your skills profile and looking at the way you're interacting with students, and it's just evolving all the time, isn't it? To the point where it's not just at the moment about or anymore about swing analysis or anything like that. You've actually got students that are all the time speaking to you about strategy and psychology and all sorts of things. So it's evolving in beautiful ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, myself, I like to coach, and that goes past just teaching the golf swing. And so, the psychology, the mental game, course management, some philosophy type stuff. I found it really goes a long way in helping my students to, play better golf because they all have handicap goals, and swing's just one component of that.
Yeah, 100%. But today we probably will concentrate on the swing, I suppose. We could talk for hours and hours about all of it, but today we're going to have a chat about the swing. So what I'm going to do, team, here, I'm just going to actually share a screen here, and we're going to have a look at Skillest. So this is, if I just put this right in the middle here, there we go. Okay, so this is actually Keith's Skillest profile, and it's one of his students that he started working with. How long ago did you start working with this student, Keith?
I'd say probably, in that 4 or 5 month range, probably type thing. But the changes we saw with Victor were pretty instantaneous, which was really cool.
Which is incredible, isn't it? In that you're only really using, verbal cues and communication. You've got actually no ability to physically grab them and move them around.
Right.
So let's have a chat here. Okay, so the top one's the original swing you can see here. So let's just press play.
Yeah.
This is done in slow motion, right? So we don't even really know, you don't know where Victor lives, do you? I think that's probably testament to the platform that, it doesn't really matter where they live now, does it? So you can see there that there's a bit going on there. So straight away, you can see it probably looks like his arms are a bit too far outside on the way back. But do you want to talk us through his action here, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to students, one of the first things I like to do is talk about aim and alignment. And I really think that has a lot to do with how golfers swing that golf club. I mean, if you look at any other sport that we play, our eyes are always on the target, and we keep them there when we throw an object or we use an instrument to kind of move an object towards whatever we're trying to do. And in the golf swing, same way, we're trying to move that golf ball towards our target, and we're using the golf club to do it. So when I talked to him, to me it looked like he thought, and this happens with a lot of golfers, that the target was way off to his left.
Right.
And to me, he was trying to move that golf ball towards his target, which is creating that swing that you can see is drastically from out to in.
So you think that if I'm drawing a couple of lines here, he probably feels like his target's over here somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things that I do is I make sure that whenever they hit golf balls on the range, that they have a specific target and it's in the right spot.
Right.
Most important.
Right. Okay. And then, so do you think that his aim is out just because it is out, or do you think there's other influences in the golf swing itself, or so it's sort of chicken or the egg? So you're more inclined to think it's absolutely how he or what he feels like he's aiming at rather than anything that's happening in the golf swing, and then the golf swing is dictated by his aim.
Well, it's tough to tell because I hadn't seen him play golf for the very first time in his life and how he evolved to this point.
Yeah.
I do think there's also influences of, there's a lot of wanting to hit down on the golf ball in the
Yeah.
amateur golf. And this to me looks like a very steep trying to hit down on top of the golf ball as well. So I do think there's that
Yeah.
image in his brain as well, because, our movements are all just dictated by a mental intention of what we're trying to do. And, if he's trying to swing that club left to a target and hit down on it, I mean, I can easily see how that downswing started to occur for sure.
100%.
Because, that outside on the way back, if that target was more, if he knew that target was more out in front of him to the right, which is where it actually is based on that mat alignment, there's a good chance that backswing comes in at a little bit more neutral spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we look at it down below, so what were the first things you did with him were change his alignment, and then he's actually got an alignment stick in the ground there. Did you put that there? Yeah.
Yep. So that was part of the drill that I had him do, and that was just to basically, I love to use alignment sticks in any sort of practice and instruction that I do, because it just really gives a nice little feedback reminder for him to use. And that alignment stick right there is basically on the lie angle of his club. So you can see it kind of matches the shaft angle that he sets up with that address. And, the cue just to keep that club head just on the inside of that alignment stick, or just pretty much even with it. And that would kind of chain reaction set up the rest of the top of his swing and into the downswing.
Yep.
And once we got the target sorted out, and once we got that backswing moving in a better spot, you can see the top of the backswing is much better, way less laid off. I mean, obviously it's not perfect, right? But this is a pretty drastic change for, one lesson.
It's unbelievable, really. I mean, if you look at that initial arm direction on the way back there, you look at that direction versus the one at the top. I mean, if you had have told me that they were the same student, I wouldn't believe it, almost, So, and I think what you said is chain reaction is such a great word, isn't it? Because once you get that initial direction right on the way back, I mean, you can see his shoulders are going in a completely different direction, aren't they? So where on the top he looks really blocked and his shoulders aren't moving, you can see here that this actually gets pulled around a little bit, doesn't it?
Exactly. I mean, and you can see that this golf ball too on the bottom screen just starts off straight down the line, whereas the other one takes off. It just goes dead left. You can't even see it. It disappears out of the frame basically. But now you can see that one kind of exiting more down. And look at that, club head through. I can still see the club head, well past impact. On that bottom golfer. On the top one, it rips left real fast. And
that's going straight left.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there's still plenty of work to do here, but, it's just about putting the pieces in place. And the more he practices, and the more he gets used to that movement, the better he's going to get at it.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, if we're going to use TrackMan numbers, for example, like there might be still a lot to work at, but you have probably changed, that club direction on the way down. It's probably now it might be, 2 degrees swing direction right. Whereas, probably was, 5 degrees left sort of thing previously. So,
at least 5 left. I mean, probably total, we probably moved it like, 10 degrees, as far as left to right goes. And just using visual cues and mental images and, just giving him an intention of where to swing that golf club. Because obviously he had never had that before. And what I like is, golfers just need a little bit of that good information, and most of us can adapt pretty quickly, but they're just not getting the right cues to work with right off the bat is when they start playing golf. And then you can get what you see on that top version of that swing, that sort of stuff can happen.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly right. And I think that when you are practicing on your own largely, it's so internal, isn't it? You just live inside your body and inside your head, and you can't see anything external. So you need those cues, don't you? You need those things that sort of give you that feedback. And I mean, in his situation, not only is it him actually sending footage to you and you can give him that feedback, but he also then puts things around him that sort of give him the parameters he needs to work in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of feedback stations, like giving a golfer a feedback drill setup station to work with. If you have a really dramatic outside move like he had, it's necessary for him to feel what it's like to be more neutral. And sometimes you have to force that with boundaries and parameters like alignment sticks, because it's going to feel so different for him, but he needs to feel that for a week or two to get oriented into what feels square to him, or what it needs to feel like.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, exaggeration is always the key, isn't it? And I think that, with the limitations, if there is any limitation with Skillest, it probably is just that being able to go there and push them. But if you can say to them, okay, put this here and then, it almost does as good a job, doesn't it? Because then they can have that physical experience where they can go, wow, that I get how much that needs to change.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head there. I can't go and manipulate his body, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. I've found, you give them a little bit of information, kind of let the student discover it for themselves. I've had some of the best success in my golf swing and work as a player, in self-discovery. And I like that aspect about golf. I think that's one of the more fun aspects about golf, is almost like, hey, kind of nudge them in the right direction and let them go figure it out. And I think it's more rewarding for them.
100%. And this is one of those unexpected advantages, I think, to our platform, and it actually being potentially a better way to learn, is that I think when a student comes and sees me for a golf lesson, I can get pretty enthusiastic. I'm very passionate about what I do, but sometimes students might, it can be probably overwhelming at times. And because you're standing there, you're getting a lot of information. And as coaches, we actually want students to get better. Even though we obviously prophesize about process and everything, we want them to get it better straight away, right? So sometimes that maybe can be a bit too forceful, because we're jamming people into these hour-long slots or whatever it is, and you're like, okay, we've got an hour to make this really good. And but what this does, like, you can say, okay, you need to do all this, you go and work on it, send me something in a week. And they don't have that intensity or that pressure, and they can do exactly what you said and have that process of self-discovery.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I've had some of my best successes with like an in-person lesson where I kind of set them up with a little station, give them a thought, and then, I'm like, I got to go get some more golf balls type thing. You know what I mean? And just because, and it's not like I'm not concerned or want to be hands-on, but I know, as a learner myself, that when I'm able to kind of sit there, think about how my body needs to move to make that happen, without someone kind of standing there and me feeling that pressure, it can be a better learning environment. And that's what I found with Skillest, is that I kind of send them off with a few things that I know will set the dominoes in place, and they often come back to me having made the correct changes. But then they're like, "Hey, I also discovered this," and I'm like, and I kind of had an inkling that they might. So that's kind of cool as well.
Yeah, it's crazy town. And what it does on top of that as well, though, is that you can then still have faster feedback as well. It's not like you leave them alone for 2 weeks or something. They can just quickly upload something straight away and go, is this right? Am I doing this right? So, but anyway, let's not, talk about how amazing Skillest is. But, so with that student in particular, okay, so you obviously put those, you put the alignment stick down, you gave them that sort of feedback, that visual feedback. What sort of the next step do you think you would take with someone like that?
Yeah, I mean, so him sending me some more video, obviously progressing into some longer clubs as well. And for me, I like to see videos of them playing on the golf course if possible too, because a lot of things change in that regard. And, a lot of autopilot kind of old habits start to kick in when you get onto a golf course. So for me, I like to see how they transfer it to the course, and that's not as easy for them to film, but if they're playing with somebody, they can kind of get them to stand back there and film it for me. But, just continuing to work on, with him in particular, his fundamentals were so far away from baseline that, it might take him, a couple months to feel comfortable being depending on how much he practices, right? Because that's a big thing too. But it might feel a little bit, to get him back to baseline, to get him back to square. But, the bones of the golf swing are in place as of right now. I don't overload students with a ton of information. because at the end of the day, we're just trying to control the club face and we're trying to control the swing path, because that makes the golf ball do what it does in the air. And so I've laid those foundations in place, and from here, it'll just be kind of massaging it and tweaking it to make it more efficient and more repeatable. You know, I'm not a huge thing like it needs to look a certain way.
Yeah.
But I want it to be repeatable and as efficient as possible.
Mate, that's just awesome. I think you're doing great stuff. And what we'll do absolutely is come back to that guy in the future, and we can keep chatting about that. But I mean, I know that you've had huge success with a lot of students, and the type of communication you're having is really, really exciting. So what we'll do, I think in a couple of weeks, we'll come back with another student, and we can also go back to Victor in a month or something and just see where he's at. But mate, that's it. I really, really appreciate your time. And let's absolutely do this again.
We will 100%. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. And thanks for putting this app out there in the world and helping us connect with all these golfers. And it's just been a lot of fun to touch base and communicate with everyone and finally chat with you in person. So I look forward to the next time we can do it.
All right. Not a problem, Keith.
All right, Ben. Take care,
buddy. Bye.